All right, English with Johnny here. And today I'm going to show you a recording with one of my students on the topic of content creation. This is a topic that I record and publish with all of my students to try to get them to get out of their comfort zone and develop their, confidence in certain ways. Unfortunately, I had some technical issues and I wasn't able to record the meeting from the very beginning, but that's why I did this introduction here. So enjoy.
Daily routine related to sports. So it is useful for my health.
Nice. So it's motivational. Do you end up actually running more?
Yes, exactly. This year I ran about 120 kilometers, and my goal is 200 kilometers this year.
Nice. I used to also run a lot. I used to run like every day for a whole month, and then I started having knee problems.
Yes. You have to use proper shoes, and you have to use your, I don't know how to say, starting finger from the foot. You have to run on
Not the
this.
heel, but the toes.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I ran properly, but I think the problem was also I was doing it too frequently.
Yes.
Eventually, I ended up switching to rollerblading because the problem with running is that you're constantly stomping the ground.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and do this reading.
Reading. Content creation is the contribution of information to any media and most especially to digital media. Typical forms of content creation include maintaining and updating websites, blogging, article writing, photography, videography, online commentary, the maintenance of social media accounts, and editing distribution of digital media.
Nice. Moving on to some fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blanks. Find out what questions, problems, you know.
Find out what questions or problems your
target has.
I could close, but try another one.
Your audience has, and answer them in an informative, easy to work way, easy to consume way, Understand your target audience well and invest time in research. Once you know what kind of questions your audience has, then it's just a case of developing a system that works for you.
Nice, very good. Reading.
Regardless whether you decide to create online video courses, conduct live lessons, organize a webinar, or operate a blog, content is essential. You should focus on it and pay significant attention to it. As it is said, content is king. It is content that drives people, grabs their interest, and helps them make decisions.
Nice. I think a lot of people underestimate how much it influences our decision making when it comes to content. It kind of, I think, affects us on a subconscious way.
Yeah. Position. Put or arrange someone or something in a particular place or way. Sporadic, occurring at regular intervals or only in a few places, scattered or isolated. Coherent, logical,
Coherent.
coherent, logical and consistent. Pro, prominent,
Prominent.
prominent, important, famous. Following a body of supporters or admirers.
Nice. Very good. Questions.
Questions. What type of content do or did you like to create? Yes, I asked this question in the past to myself. Probably I want to create some programming lessons for kids, for instance.
Okay.
Or
There's already a lot of that out there. Don't you think it's gonna be hard to compete with that?
yes, I know it is, but this is why I didn't do it until now. you know.
Yeah. I mean, I used to actually also have a student that did exactly that. He had a website where he had like an online course for programming for beginner programmers. Um, so, I mean, I personally interacted with someone like that. But apart from courses like that, have you considered doing content of any other kind?
Mm, yes, I try to first. First, I have to learn to play tennis better, and then I would like to have tennis lessons vlog or something like this, but
Hmm.
only for special hits, not all. For instance, today we want to exercise how to improve the spin of the ball when you hit the ball,
Yeah.
and how you can do it. Today we
Maybe
want, yeah,
maybe an option for you, considering where you are now, is to maybe catalog your improvement over time. You can be like, okay, this is how I played when I started making content, and then like 2 months later, if you do it consistently, you can show people and demonstrate how you've improved over time.
yes, exactly.
I think the real value from doing that would be just the accountability that you would have, because if you want to stay consistent and you're committed to something like this, then you're gonna have a different kind of pressure. You're gonna have like a pressure to improve because you're recording yourself and you're putting it out there.
Hmm.
Which is why
Okay.
I think this topic
Yeah.
is great for my students, because it's a different kind of pressure that you feel, and it's a similar kind of pressure that you feel when you're actually like talking to someone in real life, because there's like you can't go back and change it or edit these real life things. And when it comes to content creation, certain forms of that are very similar.
Yes, I know.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the second question here.
What value does your content bring to the viewer? Oh, related to the programming course, I can say probably yes, I can be better than the other ones, my competitors, because I hope and I think that I'm a little bit more easy to understand. I think that I don't present too much theoretical things, and I think this is my advantage that I can explain in a easy to understand way the programming language
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I
without
mean,
yeah
go ahead.
sorry without force the students to know a lot of mathematics and so on and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other programming languages
Yeah.
and probably Yes, when I was a student, I had a goal to create a programming language for kids in a visual way. In order to write code, you have to play with building blocks. But
Interesting.
nowadays, I know that there is such kind of programming language, but this happened in my mind in 2007, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I also did something like that a long time ago. Back in like 20, I don't know, when I was in high school, 2010 maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
I was learning some programming, and pretty much what it
Yes,
was
yes.
like these puzzle pieces that I would drag and drop.
Yes, yes.
And I made an app which was literally a picture of a cat that when I tap it, it goes meow.
Yeah, nice.
It was the simplest app ever.
Yes, this is the starting point, you know. And
That's as
then you
far as it got.
can,
I didn't make any other apps after that.
yeah, yeah.
But I did learn coding in college afterwards, but I didn't make like a full-fledged application.
Yes,
All
but
right, let's
you have to understand a little bit the main picture of the domain, and if you like it, uh you can analyze in a deeper way
yeah.
and learn a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing in that situation was that I understood the underlying concept. And
Yes, yes,
like programming languages change over time. So maybe you can focus on just the underlying concept and just like focus on really, really, really making sure people understand the very basic concepts.
yes, exactly. This is this is why I like my teachers in the high school. For instance, I like very much physics because they, in order to explain us what it is gravity or momentum, for instance, they requested us to run outside, and when the teacher uh, said to us, please stop, we have to stop exactly in the same time. But
Yeah.
we didn't. We cannot do this. And they say, okay, this is the momentum, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a great way of teaching it because
Yeah, yes, yes.
it's much more engaging.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, now you didn't forget, and that happened how long ago?
Yes, when I was, I don't know, 10 years old or something like this,
Yeah,
12
that's pretty
years
nice.
old. And I remember this lesson from for all my entire life, you know?
Hmm. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and move on to this next activity here, reading.
One of the key components of content creation is being able to understand your target audience, understanding the problems that they have and the questions they are asking. From there, you can see about
Set.
creating, you can set about creating content that's going to start to build a relationship with your visitors. By giving people helpful information, you've pro- positioned yourself as an expert
Nice. Very good. Questions.
who creates content that you consume. In general, I consume news. For instance, I read news from uh, news websites.
Hmm.
I have free websites that I read every day.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, I take a look in the morning on YouTube videos. I
Hmm.
have there some uh, content content creational, content creation people
Okay, some
that I
people who
follow.
create content.
Some people who create, and that's pretty much all. sometimes I take a look on Twitter and on Instagram.
Oh, okay. So which platform is it that you prefer to consume content on? Or which one do you spend the most time consuming content?
Yeah, the most time I spend on YouTube and on Spotify, but on YouTube, this is
Hmm.
the main platform.
It's interesting that you say Spotify because I didn't think about that, but that's probably my number one source as well.
Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. I listen to music all the time, almost all the
Yes,
time.
yes. On Spotify, I listen to Joe Rogan podcast
That's good.
and
Yeah.
to other podcasts when I drive
Hmm.
in my
What do
car.
you think about Joe Rogan? Have you been listening to some of his older less episodes or some of his newer episodes?
To some newer episodes. I started with newer episodes,
Hmm.
not with older ones.
There are
Uh,
some really good old ones as well, but recently he had an interview with Mark Zuckerberg. Have you watched that one?
no, 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 I didn't.
I think it's very interesting. I was listening to that one when I was on the train recently, and I was paying a lot of attention to how Mark Zuckerberg holds a conversation, and he says like when he responds to Joe Rogan every single time he responds, he says this little phrase, and it just sounds like he's mumbling. He says the words, "I mean, but he says it so fastly, so fast. He says it so quickly. It's like, I mean, but it just sounds like gibberish. Anyway,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and make sure that we get through all the activities. So let's go ahead and talk about the next question here.
In what way your content impacting the world
What ways is your content?
is your content?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know, hard to say. Uh, if we think to programming lessons, probably in the future, a lot of people uh, will learn programming and uh, it, probably the salary will be lower. If we have a
Well,
lot of programmers.
I don't know. I don't actually necessarily agree with that. Just because maybe if there are more programmers, there's going to be more stuff to do, more stuff to program.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So, supply maybe raises, but maybe demand also raises at the same time.
Yes, nowadays we feel this pressure. We don't have enough people that could work on different programming tasks.
Yeah, which is
And we
good
have
because you can negotiate for a bunch of money.
yes, we have to do a lot of automation tasks and so on that can be executed automated.
Yeah. The thing is though, something I noticed when I was working in the office is I would automate a lot of reports and a lot of stuff. But that was literally the job of some people and they didn't like it because they didn't have a job anymore.
Yes, yes,
So, I think there's also like a self-sabotage going on with these big corporations.
yeah, that's right.
All right, let's move on to some reading.
At its heart, content creation is about answering questions, solving problems, and entertaining. Content creation is about more than just putting out sporadic random pieces of content. It's about forming a coherent plan to continually publish high quality pieces relevant to your audience, in particular, your perfect customer.
Nice. Very good. Questions.
What's the workflow like for
What's the
the
workflow?
what's the workflow like for the type of content that you create or created?
Or the type of content that you want to create?
Yes. I think the workflow should be something like this. I have to set up a goal. For instance, publish one video per week. Then each day uh, allocate time, for instance, 2 hours for research, for content creation, and so on, editing, you know. And finally, probably on Friday or on, I think it's better to publish on Sunday or Saturday in weekend, in order to have more audience, because then a lot of people are at home.
Yeah.
And they watch to different social media, social networks.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think this could be the workflow. And I think it's better to have at least 2 or 3 episodes in future, in order to have a backup, to be able to post every week if you
Yeah.
have some issues or something like this.
Yeah, what you're talking about there is called the pipeline.
Yeah,
To have a good
pipeline.
pipeline of content.
Yes.
That's really important to take into account, because one of the most important things is like to do it consistently.
Yeah, I know.
And I've made content in the different forms, and something I didn't think about was the workflow, particularly editing, because editing takes a lot of time.
Yes, I know. This is why I don't like it, because I know that the technical information and the research, it is about half or 50%, and the editing is another 50%, which is a lot for me, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't like to edit every time frame and so on, and you know.
Yeah, it takes a long time. I've done it before, and it gets in the way of making good content. So if I make video content now, pretty much everything I do is unedited, whether it's recorded or live streamed. In this case, I'm not going to edit this recording, because I also want it to be very authentic, to be raw, like similar to what Joe Rogan does with his interviews. But even those are edited a little bit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some matching.
Matching components. A part or element of a larger whole, especially a part of a machine or vehicle.
Good.
Position. Put or arrange someone or something in a particular place or way. Shouting from the rooftops. Shouting from the rooftops. To share some news or information publicly, and with as many people as possible.
Good.
Consume, eat, drink, ingest, or use up. Contribute. Give something in order to help achieve or provide something. And sporadic is occurring at irregular intervals or only in a few places. Scattered or isolated.
Nice, very good. All right, questions.
How did you get into a content creation?
Or in other words, maybe because you don't really make a lot, what's prevented you from getting into content creation?
I think the main thing that preventing me is the time. I think I don't have time to do, and I didn't prioritize this 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 task
Mm-hmm.
content creation because probably it is a mistake, but I feel like I don't gain money and I don't have any benefits from creating content by free.
Well, it depends on the type of content and how you
Yeah,
do it.
yes, I know.
It's a good long-term strategy, but short-term, yeah, you won't really get much out of it.
Mhm.
I think it's good to look at other people who've been making content to see how they've been able to capitalize on it. Like for example, Christy and Raul. Christy makes a lot of content, and because of that, he has a very big audience, and he talks about programming and stuff like that. And then those people end up becoming part of his mentorship program. So that's how he managed to monetize his audience.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't
Nowadays,
I don't think he
he
thought about that when he first started making videos, you know?
yeah he contacted me on LinkedIn, and in order to check that he is real, I asked some questions to him because I think that he installed AI bot to chat with more people,
Okay.
but he didn't. He's the real person.
But what made you think he wasn't real?
Because I think that he tried to automate some processes. I think he installed an AI bot in order to ask uh, randomly or targeted people from LinkedIn, for instance, programmers, to ask some general questions. How at what project do you work,
Hmm.
locally or for foreign company? What is your salary and so on, in order to collect data from them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it sounds like something that a salesperson would do, and that's just part of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sales process. And I'm
yeah.
willing to bet that maybe someone on his sales team is sending those messages. Because when I did
Oh,
sales, that's what I would do. I would send messages, and then I would try to get on the phone with people.
yes, yes, yes. I
That's the whole
know.
goal. To first to send them messages, and then get them on the phone, and then sell the product or service.
Yeah, it is very, very hard because I
Oh yeah.
did this in the past 10 years ago, but it was hard, very
Yeah,
hard.
it is hard. I know because I've done it for a while, and it is hard. But if you look at it like a game, then you can just have fun with it. Because
Yeah, yeah,
a lot of people are going to say no. That's just the nature of it.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some terms.
Terms. Tweak, twist or pull something sharply. Novelty, the quality of being new, original, or unusual. Collaborate, work jointly on an activity or project. Elicit, evoke or draw out a reaction, answer, or fact from someone. Nurture, create,
Care for.
ca- care for, and protect someone or something.
Nice. I really like these questions here.
Questions. How have content creation influenced your life?
How have content creators?
How have content creators? I think content creators influence my life by their content.
Okay,
And the
so how did
content,
their content influence you?
yes, the content influenced me by, in a way, by, yes, helping me to take decisions, buy products, and or improve my daily routine,
Mm-hmm.
improve my health, and so on.
So would you say that they're like inspirational?
Yes, yes, inspirational.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of of content creation. But there's also the risk that someone can make something seem like a lot more, I don't know, a lot better than it really is, you know? That's the risk that exists anytime any content is created, you know?
Yes.
So I think it's good to just be able to look like objectively at whatever content you're consuming and try to think what it's like when they made the content. Because what I've noticed when it comes to content creation is that, like, for pictures, for photography, for example, you know, maybe you're taking pictures of a model and the model has to sit in really awkward, uncomfortable positions for it to be pretty. That's not necessarily like a good reflection of reality because a person would never sit in those ways, you know?
Yes.
But it can be inspiring because you're like, wow, that's pretty. I want to go there and I want to take pictures there and do that too. But it's important to look at it from their perspective because then you can see, well, it's kind of staged, you know. So
Yes. Yes.
I think that's important to think about, like, how staged is it? I mean, to some people it bothers them, and to other people it doesn't, you know. But everyone has their own opinion when it comes to that.
Yes, I know what you say. This is why I don't use Facebook anymore, or
Yeah,
only sporadic, because there I saw a lot of pictures from a lot of nice places and so on. But you know, and nowadays school started, and a lot of people posted photos with their kids and so on. And you know, if
yeah,
I want to post a photo with my kid, my wife said, "Oh, his hair is not very fancy, you know. Please don't post it." Okay, then I don't use Facebook anymore because I don't want to only to see what other ones
yeah,
other people post. You know,
yeah,
I want to use Facebook in my initial goal was to use Facebook in order to post photographies with my family to have a history from my life. You know,
yeah,
like yes, sometimes I posted as private or only to my family to see
yeah,
these photos.
yeah.
But yeah,
I
my
started using
yeah.
Facebook in that way as well, but I noticed that first of all, Facebook is like cancer because they give you all sorts of other stuff, and second of all,
Yeah, yes,
it's easier to just put something on like Google Photos, put it in an album, and then share the album.
yes, yes, yes. Exactly.
And if you still want to use like a social media, I found that Instagram, because of the way the app works, it's more visual and it's more for like the pictures and that sort of stuff.
Yes, yes.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the second question here.
What have you done to support your favorite content creators? Sometimes I paid for subscription.
Okay.
Nowadays, yeah, I have a content creator which is a parenting teacher, and I paid there a lot of money for her content because it is very useful for me and for my kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I like it very much. Yes, so in order to support the content creators, sometimes I paid a subscription.
That's interesting because
Yeah,
most people don't. You know, it takes a lot of effort to try to convince someone to support content creators in that way.
yeah, I
And I'm
know.
curious, like, how did you end up becoming a supporter in that way? Did they like ask you in their content or something? Did they like, hey, support me? Or
Yeah, yeah. Some videos were free, but with fewer information, and they ask if you want to have the entire course, if you want to learn more and more, if you want to ask questions to myself, I will answer you. Then please pay a subscription and so on. And I
yeah,
decided to pay I for 1 year, pay each month about uh, $50. You know,
uh,
200 leis
yeah.
in Romania, but in dollars is about $50,
Mm-hmm. Well, I
which
mean,
is not few, but
no,
I
it's
like it
not.
very
But
much.
If it's valuable to you, then I think it's worth it because if you're
Yeah,
getting the value out of it, that's all that matters.
yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to this fill in the blanks.
Fill in the blanks. Make use of all the different formats
Yeah.
that are available, and don't be shy to promote yourself when you've done great work. When you start to see some success and you're converting customers and showing up in the rankings, then it's just a case of repeating the process and tweaking it for maximum results.
Nice. Very good.
Thank you.
Questions.
What sort of following do you have? I don't have any followers, right now.
Maybe on Facebook, I'm sure you have some friends and stuff. That could be
Yeah,
considered your following.
yes, I have friends. I have my family, my colleagues from high school, from and so on, from university,
Mm-hmm.
some teachers, and some public persons.
Mm-hmm. What about other social media platforms? I think you mentioned Twitter. Is that something you
Yeah,
use?
yeah, I use Twitter, but there I think I don't have any followers. Uh, I started to use Facebook and Twitter in 2010 when I have to implement a software platform that automatically posts a message on both platforms, and this is
Yeah.
why I created an account in order to test the application.
Was
And
was back then in 2010, was Twitter still, was it still being used through text messaging, or did they start using the application? Because I remember when Twitter was first introduced, it was only through text messaging.
yeah, yes, it was with text messages. Now they have an application, they have
Yeah.
an app that you can use on your phone.
To be
It
honest,
is
I
there.
when they started making it, when they made the app and they started pushing the app, that's when I really didn't like Twitter because it turned into like a, I don't know, to me it's just like another version of Facebook.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, for me, I personally prefer using other social media platforms because using Facebook or Twitter, you give a lot of control to the algorithm.
Mhm.
The algorithm determines what you see mostly, so it's not really the best because I want to have a little bit more control over what I'm seeing. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the second question here.
How does content creation help nurture trust with your online audience? Uh, yes, I think you can you can nurture the trust in your with your online audience by presenting real examples. For instance, I have an online creator that I follow on YouTube, and he presented different issues and problems from software development process, and also he provides solutions. And because of this, my trust in his work is can increase. I have a lot of trust in his abilities, in his skills.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more you're exposed to their content, naturally you're going to also develop more trust.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to consistently create content because those kind of that kind of trust is going to just continue being built up over time.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and skip the first question and just talk about the second one here.
Okay. If you could collaborate with anyone, who would you collaborate with? Why?
When it comes to content creation, maybe you mentioned that you wanted to make what kind of content? If you were to make some.
Uh, yes. Programming lessons for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Probably I would like to collaborate with a teacher. Why? Because a teacher is able to communicate with kids. He can help. The teacher can help me to uh, structure my courses in order to be in a good way for kids,
Yeah.
to be okay, more pleasant for kids. Also, I want to collaborate with uh, video editor in order to edit the videos and to uh, record the videos, and probably with a salesman that can help me to sell the course for probably for the kids will be free, and for teenagers will be paid or something like
Mhm.
this in order to help me to monetize the course.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I mean, right now it's hard to tell if it'll work or not until you actually try. So this type of stuff requires a lot of experimentation. All right, let's go ahead and talk about these questions now.
What influential people became prominent
Prominent.
prominent due to their content creation? I don't know. I don't know how to say. Sometimes from outside, it it looks like it is something randomly because we don't have experience, you know. But
Well,
I
think
know it.
about some people that we
Yeah.
talked about before. We mentioned a few content creators earlier in the lesson. Do you think they became like prominent because of their content that they created?
I don't know how to say because when I check how many likes and how many views has my sport teacher, you know, he don't have about 10, 20 or something like this, you know,
Mm.
about 100 views, which is fewer. So he's not very prominent, but I like the content and I follow every day. I consume
Okay.
every day.
What
And
about Joe Rogan? Do you think he became prominent because of his content?
related to Joe Rogan, yeah, yes, the content is important, but I think also it is important the marketing process, selling
Yeah, but I
process.
don't think he did a lot of marketing. From what I know, all he did was just put videos on YouTube and then it kind of naturally grew from there.
So then, would you want to say that the content he, he is prominent because of what content he posted?
Yeah.
Only by the content? This is nice.
I think it's like it acts as two different it kills two birds with one stone, I guess, because it serves as marketing and well, it's content, for people to consume. And I think this applies to a lot of other content creators, also like Christy, for example. I think the reason he's able to have this kind of influence was because of the content that he created.
Mhm.
And because now he has influence, he can monetize it and make a bunch of money.
Nice.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the second question here.
How does content creation help you
Develop and grow.
develop and grow as a person? I think if you create content every day, then you can increase at least one skill. You will be able to communicate better with your family and with your friends, you know?
I mean, it depends what kind of content you make.
Yes, that's right. Because if the content is very technically, then probably if you discuss with your family as in the same words as you use uh, when you create content, it will be bad. So you will not grow.
Well, I think there's opportunity for growth regardless. But let's try to look at it from the perspective of one of these other content creators like Joe Rogan. How do you think his content helps him grow as a person?
Uh, I think his content helps him to grow as a person because uh, he invited a lot of peoples with different domains, and for instance, in order to read a book or to participate at a course or a lesson or a webinar and so on, he is able to learn directly from the author and in a compressed way.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but he invited a teacher from university, I don't know exactly, and they discussed a lot about financing, about how to write a book. It was an author from I don't know exactly from US or from Great Britain,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very nice.
Yeah, he did that with several of his guests. He had a lot of interesting people on there. And
Yeah.
I think just the fact that he was able to sit there and spend time with these people helped him grow as a person because he can ask them questions that are specifically relevant to him and they can respond in a way
Mhm.
that's specifically relevant to what he's asking for him.
Yes, exactly. He
All right.
presented a lot of things from his life, yes, with his wife and so on.
Yeah,
How
and I
how
think
they do sports. Yeah.
most importantly he's exposed to different ways that people talk and different communication styles and he's had to adapt to those
Yeah.
communication styles and he somehow makes everyone feel comfortable when they sit for a conversation with him.
Yeah.
All
That's
right,
right.
so let's go ahead and skip to the end of the lesson and talk about feedback. What did you think about today's topic?
Feedback. It was a hard lesson for me.
What made it
Uh,
hard?
uh, because I never create content in the past in this way, for I mean public content.
Well, now you just
And
did,
yeah,
and we collaborated on this.
yes. Thank you.
That's the
Uh,
point. This topic here was to help my students kind of get out of that comfort zone when it comes to creating content and to show like what it's like to collaborate as well because I think collaboration when it comes to content creation is really the secret to success.
mhm.
So what's
Yeah,
one thing you learned in today's lesson? A new word or a new phrase or
yeah. The phrase that means that publish to as many people as possible. I don't know the exact phrase, but This is strange. Something to rooftops. Uh, uh, yes, shouting from the rooftops. Shouting
Nice.
from the rooftops.
Nice. Very good. So that's pretty much it for our lesson today.
Okay,
All right, Paul. Well, again, thank you for a lesson, and
thank you.
see you. I don't know if we have something
Next
scheduled
week.
next week, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Well, then I hope you have a great rest of the day, a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.